Okay, amazing. So my coach Shazia, thank you so
Welcome.
much. Thank you so much for getting on here to be interviewed by me. And I am super excited to have you here. I know we've only connected recently, but I really feel the connection with you. I just love how unapologetically yourself you are. And I'm mesmerized by your fun, feminine, yet powerful personality. And just in all of your achievements, as well as the challenges that you've had to overcome to embrace your true purpose. So we'll get into that a little bit more during the interview. And I know you're a life coach, you have your own businesses, and you're also a speaker. Now, can you tell everyone here like a little bit about what you do and who you love helping?
Sure. So I am the host of the Feminine and Fulfilled podcast, and I am a life coach, transformational coach, and I love helping women thrive. And I don't even want to say helping because women don't need help, but really showing women what is possible in their lives, whatever it is that they desire, and bringing that to fruition. It makes me so giddy, actually, to
I
watch
love
women
that.
succeed and thrive and just rock it out.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Now, I've noticed as well, like just in the coaching space, and you would probably have noticed this as well, it's growing exponentially. What do you do, or what do you think you do differently that helps you to stand out?
Oh, I've never gotten that question. I love that question. Okay. Well, what makes me stand out in a field that it might start feeling saturated for people who are in the industry, but it's still not. I would actually say that we still need many more coaches, that there is space for so many more people to come because really there are so many people who can benefit from coaching.
Definitely.
So I want to say that first. And what sets me apart is that I really do have that belief in general. I have a very expansive mindset and I believe that there is space for everybody and everything. And so for me, I'm not in competition at all.
I love
Like
that.
I just am not, people sometimes are like, what is this person doing or that person doing? And I've always just marched to the beat of my own drum. I'm a rebel. I like doing things
Love it.
I don't want to follow any rules. And I really model what I teach also. And so for me, it's not about having to be perfect. My journey has actually been unraveling trying to be perfect. And
Mm,
so being able to show up as myself, doing things my own way, and being in this expansive abundance mindset allows me to show up as a coach who can hold the space for very powerful women. And that is the thing that I have not seen up until now. I think that a lot of times people will follow maybe a curriculum or some sort of way to do things. And I think that works when you're talking about products. I think that there is a way to market. I think there's a way to do things. I love what you do. And that works there. But when it comes to somebody's life, I
mm,
can't tell you a cookie cutter way to live your life. I have to follow your journey intuitively. I have to be able to meet you where you're at, see your greatest vision even before you do, allow you to see your blind spots as well, see the spaces that maybe you're not aware of that are holding you back. That is
mm.
my role as a coach. And so if I start trying to impose what I think it should be, or what I learned from this program here or there, and just trying to fit you into, that saying, fitting a square peg into a round hole,
Yeah.
that is not going to work. And that is not going to allow for the fullness of who you are to come out. So I love that I follow this very intuitively. I have been doing this now for almost a decade, and I am just
Wow.
so proud of my clients. And I'm proud of myself too. I've also been on this journey. So it's just very, very rewarding. And yeah, and I don't see a lot of people like me in the space either. So
No, and I think that, to be honest, I think that's it shows when you were telling me how you just do things your way. I think it shows up as that, like people feel, I think that people will see you and they feel attracted to your personality, just as like when you showed up on my Instagram feed, I was like, oh wow, like I really need to know like who you are and how you can help. That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, the next question I've got for you is, how do you keep updated, inspired, or connected when it comes to what you do?
You know, that is something that has been evolving. So when I first started out, it was a lot about learning how to run a business. So again, for people who go into any sort of service industry or any, you know, anything where you want to help others and do something for others, you might be really, really good at that. But to have a successful business, you have to know how to run a business. And it was very easy for me to get my coaching training. It was very natural. But in the beginning, I really had to learn about business. I had to like dive deep. And so a lot of my inspiration came from seeing other people who had been very successful. It didn't matter the industry, but I was very inspired by people who really went out there and did the thing and created the life they wanted. That felt very inspiring because I was aspiring to be at a certain place in my life and my business. Now that I've become more seasoned and, you know, I'm really grounding more and more into who I am as a woman, as a leader, I really feel inspired by just witnessing and experiencing the present moment. And that's like kind of like a totally different, you know, I'm talking about like I was inspired by business and now I'm like just like in the present moment. But as an example, I took a walk it was about 2 months ago. I took a walk and I saw these turtles. There's this fountain near my house. And so I walked over there and I saw these turtles and I didn't know this, but turtles sunbathe. And so they were all in a group and they were like, some were sitting on top of each other and they were just like all hanging out. And then when they sunbathe, literally, if you can imagine a turtle like with their hands and their feet out like this, it looks like they're surfing. Okay.
Yeah.
And it kind of looks like they're flying or they're surfing out of their shell. And they just looked so at peace and so relaxed. And this is, 10:30 on like a Tuesday morning, and I'm just out walking. That was very inspiring to me. It showed me what it's like to just pause, to bathe in the sun, to be in the moment. Those are the things that we have around us all the time, that nature is always showing us things. And I take a lot of inspiration from that because at some point you can ingest and read and learn and go to like so much that you reach a point where it's the law of diminishing returns, right? Like you can get to a point where it's no longer actually providing inspiration. It starts feeling like a chore. It starts feeling like more work. And the truth is, I don't think any of us want to live like that. So to draw my inspiration from nature now and being present in the moment and really enjoying where I'm at in this season of my life, in this moment of my life, that brings me so much.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. It's so funny you mentioned that about the turtles, because I was taking a walk in like a park somewhere in town the other day and I saw this, I can't remember whether, I think it was a mix of pigeons and geese, and they were just, just chilling out on the grass. I was thinking, oh, I like to be like more like that. Just, just sit around and I think at some point in my business as well, I was thinking, why am I hustling so hard if I can't enjoy that time, if I can't spend that time and be present with my family? And it really isn't about having the most money or having the biggest successes. It's about actually what works for me and my family and my business and my life. So I'm so pleased that you actually mentioned that. Yeah. Okay. Amazing. And the next question is, when I was reading your bio and you said that you're a recovering people-pleasing perfectionist, I had to chuckle because not in a bad way, but because that's me. And I want to ask you, like, what was the turning point for you when you realized it's time to stop people-pleasing or being a perfectionist, like that is getting in your way instead?
Yeah, I want to answer that question in two parts. I'm going to talk about perfectionism and people pleasing. So let's start with perfectionism. I attract a lot of perfectionists. A lot of my clients are perfectionists. I love it. I know how to talk to a perfectionist. I know how to get you out of your head really quickly, because let me tell you, perfectionists, we like to think and think and think and think.
Yes.
And guess what? Nothing's happening with thinking. It's not. We have to shift our paradigm from thinking our way out of things or thinking our way into things, and understanding that it is when we get into action, when we get out of our heads, when we start following our intuition, this is when stuff happens.
Yes.
So perfectionism, there's a great book I want to recommend. It's called The Perfectionist Guide to Losing Control.
Oh, I love that title.
So good. I know everyone's always like, oh yeah, because it hits the spark where we're
It
like,
does.
yeah, we want to be in control, right? Because that's what perfectionism is about.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend that book. So for me, perfectionism, actually, I should probably update my bio to not say recovering, because I am a perfectionist and that doesn't go away. I think part of what I realized in my journey too is that I needed to stop fighting myself. There was this idea I had that perfectionism is bad, and it's not bad. Perfectionism is the opportunity to do things in integrity. It is perfectionism that allows us to really be first in, like, best in class, because we care. We want to do right by what we're doing. It allows us to be ambitious and think in a bigger way, because again, we care. Now, perfectionism can become debilitating, and that's what we want to avoid. So when perfectionism starts taking over, okay, look, let's be aware. I tell myself, oh God, there's my perfectionist again. What do I need to do? I usually need to either take a walk or dance or do something to get out of my head, do something fun so that I can get out of the whirlwind that can happen when it gets too bad. But I'm still a perfectionist. There's nothing, again, that has to be fixed. We don't need to be fixed. We don't need to recover. What we get to do is we get to harness our strengths in a way that brings us greater success internally and externally. So for me, okay, I'll pause. I heard your. So for me, my journey taught me to let go. I have a very tragic story. I know everybody does. My story, involves losing my son and my marriage falling apart after that, and really being alone. And I had to go on this journey of understanding that even though I thought I was checking off all of the boxes,
Yeah.
even though I thought I was reaching this white picket fence dream, that when everything was taken away and I was left just by myself, it was the wake-up call to look in the mirror and say, who am I? Who am I without these things that I thought would bring me the feeling? And I had to go on this journey to really see myself. So my perfectionism in that way, the way that showed up was debilitating, the way I used to live. And so I'm grateful that I'm not like that anymore, because there's nothing now there. I don't need something in my life to prove that I'm worthy to be content and fulfilled in my life. And I think I thought I needed those things. I thought I would be, I would hit the epitome of living a successful life if I had those external things. And instead, when I focused on the inside, when I let go of the perfectionism of trying to look like I had the perfect life, that is when things started coming into my life. And now in my marriage now and in my life now, yes, I can see the turtles and appreciate that. I can be in the moment because I'm not trying to be something. So yeah, for me, my perfectionism was so strong. I had to be like knocked upside the head, basically, and, go through a lot of things and, come out on the other side really grateful. So I said I would talk about it in two parts, right? So that's perfectionism, in a nutshell, but I want to come into people pleasing, because part of the perfectionism was people pleasing, right? I wanted that life so people would be like, oh, look at her life. She made it. Oh, wow, Shazia, you're amazing, And that was definitely a lot of people pleasing, which also showed up in ways for me of like putting a lot of pressure on myself. I had to be a certain way. I had to make everybody else happy. I had to be this like charming person who, made everybody else feel good, even if it was at the detriment of myself. And in some ways, I'm not going to come out and be like a bee and be mean and stuff. Like, it's not my personality either. So again, it's not about not being nice, but my people pleaser really came to light this past December. And I'm going to share something very vulnerable. My father passed away last December, and he was in the ICU for 2 weeks prior, and I had no idea he was going to pass away. We didn't even know he was going to be in the ICU. We just went to the hospital. He wasn't feeling well. And like within hours, our life just went upside down. And so I went into go mode. I'm the eldest daughter, and my dad really looked up to, not looked up to me, but relied on me and thought very highly of me. And he always said, you're no different than a man. He just raised me very empowered. And so that's my role in the family. Like, I am the first child, my mom even says sometimes, you're like the son, the first son. And I'm like, okay, but I'm still like your daughter. But anyhow, different conversation. So I get into go mode and I tell myself, okay, I need to charm these like nurses, doctors, pharmacists, everybody. I was bringing in donuts every day. I was getting to know everybody's name. I was connecting with everyone because I'm good at connection. I know that. And I thought, if they just like me, then they'll spend extra time with my dad and he'll make it. And I tried so hard. And in the end, it didn't matter. The people who were nice were wonderful. The people who really cared regardless. And the people who didn't care, they didn't care regardless. And in the end, it wasn't up to them. It was my dad's time, and he passed away. And it was devastating. It was really devastating. And it brought grief back into my life again. My son passed away 14 years ago. And now, my dad just passed away recently. And it brought back so much grief, but in a very different way because I'm older now. And what it did is, I think the loss of my father made me feel like I'm a woman. And I'm 43 years old. By all measures, I am a woman. But I think losing my father made me feel like, well, now I'm an adult. And watching how I tried so hard with my people pleasing and to witness, like, literally, you're so close, you're there all day, every single day. It just showed me that I'm never going to do this again. I'm never going to sacrifice decisions, because I was his advocate too. And, there are things I look back on and I'm like, I had a different feeling about something, but I listened to this doctor or I listened to this person because I was people pleasing. And it left such an impression on me that ever since, I just have decided I will not be a people pleaser. I will be kind and I will be nice, but I am a grown woman and my voice matters. What I have to say matters. What I'm doing matters. And I never, ever need to diminish myself to make somebody else comfortable or happy.
Wow. Thank you for such a vulnerable share. I can't imagine what you were going through. And, to some extent, I resonate with that whole people pleasing and how you then realize that actually you didn't have to do that. It probably hurts you to do that, right? So thank you for sharing that. And, and also what you mentioned about being a perfectionist. that is not bad. That was actually very refreshing for me to hear. So I thank you for that as well, because it is not a bad thing to be a perfectionist. Like you said, it is our desire to, bring excellence in whatever we do because we care. But it's like you said, it is the other parts of it, like what it can do, how it could be unhelpful to ourselves. That's the thing that we actually need to tackle. So
yes,
thank you for sharing that. So
of course.
I think a lot of people benefit from this. So I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you sharing your story as well.
Of course. Thank you. I just want to say one more thing about the perfectionism too, is that I learned this from reading the book I had mentioned. And I
Yes.
loved the way that this one piece is something that I had never thought about, but she talked about how perfectionism is a word used typically for women. So men like Steve Jobs, I mean, he is the ultimate perfectionist, but he's referred
Yeah.
to as a genius.
Oh,
So
wow. I never saw it that way.
So pay attention now. After I read her saying that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so true. So
Yeah.
again, the languaging for women, this is again the socialized conditioning where women again are given something to feel bad about. When a
Yeah.
man is a perfectionist, he's a great leader, he's diligent, he's a genius, he wants to make sure it's done right. When a woman is a perfectionist, oh my gosh, she's uptight, she's so annoying, why can't she let things go? What a perfectionist. I don't know that I've heard a man be called a perfectionist in the way that I hear women, including myself, over and over again. So many women are referred to as perfectionists. And I don't think there's something wrong with that word. But when it's only used for women, we do need to unpack that.
Yeah, you're so right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Thank you for bringing that to light as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be listening. I'm going to really pay attention now, I think. And no,
Yeah.
right. You are right. Wow. Okay, cool. Thank you for sharing that. Now, leading on, what are the top 1 to 3 things then that you think women should invest in when it comes to business or themselves?
I really think that women need to invest in themselves. You already said it, to invest in yourself. So I have to say that because so many women are not investing in themselves. They're investing in their families, they're investing in their communities, they're investing in things that, have to be done, like the day-to-day things, but they're not investing in themselves. So for me, the top 1 to 3 things to invest in is, I mean, of course, let me just put coaching in there. I mean, why not? I am a coach. Coaching is pivotal. It is a catalyst to really, whatever kind of coach you want, whether it's a life coach or a career coach or financial coach or whatever, or business coach, having somebody in your corner for what it is that you need. And what I call it, I'm saying a coach, but what I'm really saying is to find an expert in the corner that you need, because there is somebody who can help you get there faster, more efficiently, more powerfully. So why not utilize that? You don't have to do it by yourself. There's nobody out there who's been successful who did it on their own. Nobody. And successful people will always say that. So you get to
Yeah.
have that too. You get to have that support. And it's great to have somebody you can bounce ideas off of or learn from, or just literally, I mean, I don't just hire coaches. I always have coaches, but I hire designers for my home or stylists for my clothes and trainers for my working out. And you might be like, well, Shazia, that's because you have the money. No, I didn't have the money. Like I don't have the money. I mean, I do have money. I'm not saying that, but it's not like I just have oodles of money sitting in an account ready to be like, oh, what should I invest in today?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
It's still a big decision. So notice where you get to push outside of your comfort zone to invest in the thing that will really support you. I would say that is like the number one thing. I don't even want to say anything else because this covers so many things. If I were to add a number 2, I would say do something just wildly fun, like go enjoy yourself, invest in like a great class near you, do something creative, dancing, pottery, art, like whatever. But oh, another great book I have to give this recommendation is The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. This
Okay.
is a fantastic book, and it's all about discovering your creativity.
Mm.
Even if you believe you're not creative, we are all creative. And when you turn on the creative side of you, oh my gosh, like there's so much possibility. So yeah. So number 2 is do something creative and fun.
Yeah.
It will bring more time into your life, more contentment, more fulfillment. You'll become more productive. It's just the
Mm.
way time and energy works, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah, love that. I'm curious though, because I know you mentioned coaching, and coaching has really helped me as well to kind of just get out of my own way,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just wondering, like, what I'm curious, like, what's been like the biggest excuse that people have like maybe given you or that you've heard for not investing in a coach?
Oh, number 1 is always number 1. I can't afford it. It is the number 1 thing. And look, how many times have I said that? Oh my gosh, so many. Like I am from an Indian family. Okay. Look, I can talk about our people. Like we think a lot about the cost of things. Okay. So I can't afford it. As soon as that comes out of your mouth, you've already decided I can't.
Mm. Mm.
I can't. So if you're saying I can't afford it, okay, this is what happens. If I run a conversation and you come to me and you say, I really want to coach with you, but I can't afford it. Okay. Well, first of all, have we even talked about the investment? People will say that to me before we've even talked. And I'm like, but we haven't even talked. Like you've already said no. So the first question
Yeah.
is, okay, well, what are you looking for in your life? Okay. So
Mm.
it is, yes, coaching with me is significant, but it's also not significant depending on what it is that you're looking for. Because your life transforming, you being able to be who you are in the fullest way possible, that's priceless. It's
Definitely.
priceless. So when I hear somebody saying that, even at the point of if we're talking about investment, I ask them, I literally ask this question. If it weren't for the money, would this be something that you're interested in?
I love that question.
It's a good question because it gets clarity. And
It
I
does.
love when people are honest because sometimes people are like, well, you know, no, like they're not really enrolled in the coaching, and that's fine because it's a relationship. I don't need everybody to be like, I need to coach with you right away. But
Exactly.
most of the time, the woman on the other side will say, oh, I am. I just like, yes, if it weren't for the money, of course, I want the coaching, right? Because we've been spending some time talking. I've
Mm.
uncovered what she wants, what's holding her back. When we get to that point, then we can start going deeper because if money is the only reason that you are not doing something that you would otherwise really, 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 really want,
Mm.
okay, then let's talk about money being a finite resource, not a finite resource. That money is a currency. So it is like a current, it's flowing, it's running. So allow it to flow. When we invest in something, we get a return in another way. The money always comes back. And on top of that, we get the thing that we're looking for. So this
Yeah.
conversation is really important that when somebody is saying, I can't afford it, what's really underneath, truly, is the energy of feeling not worthy enough, not feeling worthy enough to invest in the thing that you deeply desire. And
Mm.
I will tell you, every single thing I have invested in my life that was like, oh my God, there's no way I can do this. I absolutely can't, but I felt something in my heart that said, this is in front of you because it was divinely sent to you. So say yes. Every single time I have said yes, the money has more than come back. But more importantly, it has catapulted me in my life. whether it's in my relationships or in my business or what I'm doing in the world. So when I was a more amateur coach, I was so afraid when people would say I can't afford it. And I felt so bad. And I was like, oh my God, they said they can't
Mm.
afford it. And oh my God, they think I'm cheating them. I'm not trying to take their money. And I made it a conversation about money. But as the years went on, I actually regretted not holding the space for those people at
Mm.
that time to invest in themselves, because I saw that when women came into coaching with me, and that's what they wanted, right? That they
Yeah.
deeply wanted it, and their lives changed. My testimonials, literally one after another, best investment of my life, best investment. And I received that not because I'm like, oh, yeah, give me your money. No, what I realize is that, again, if we start to look at things in a much more spiritual way, yes, I am a coach, but ultimately I am a conduit from the divine to the woman that is brought to me. And my only responsibility is to show up with the skill set I've been given at the time that that woman comes to me, and know that it is a trust that
Mm.
I am there for her. And part of that is having this conversation right here. So
Mm.
number one thing I hear, and then at the end, number one thing I hear was it was priceless.
That's powerful. And I love that you say it's actually holding that space for them. And I'm just thinking back on like the times when I have said no. It's not so, like you said, it's sometimes it's not the money. It's that
Yeah.
I'm like, I remember like a couple of conversations I had where it was actually more the fact that I had, like you said, I felt like I wasn't worthy enough. I was worried I wouldn't do the work, or, you know, sometimes it's even like the fear of success. It sounds so silly. Fear of
Yes.
success, fear of failure. Yeah, those two things comes up for me like sometimes, and that gets me in a way. And I think, like you said, like if you were there to hold space, that would have probably surfaced, and I'll be thinking, actually, no, I do need this, because you're able to, guide me through that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's so interesting that you mentioned that.
Yeah. And I love that you're bringing up it's like these underlying fears. And another one too is, I've had women say, well, what if like I don't do well? There's this fear of like not getting the A+. And the
Yes.
A+ is that you're considering this thing. Like take that as a success already, or take that as the A+. If you need that gold star or that A+, you exploring something is already that. You can't really fail at something. And I think all of these things they speak to worthiness, the fear of success, the fear of failure, the fear of like not doing it right? The perfectionism that comes
The
through.
perfectionism, yeah.
It
Yeah.
comes in so many like sneaky ways, and it's just about awareness. So an action I would give to anybody listening right now is that if there is something that you have been wanting to do, and it can be big or it can be small, but if you have been wanting to do something and what you've been telling yourself is, oh, I can't afford it,
Mm.
or I don't have time for it. I don't hear that one as much with me, but I know people say that all the
I've heard
time.
that sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. If you find yourself saying no to yourself for the thing you really want, my action for you is to go ahead and say yes to it. Say that full body yes if your heart is really calling to it, and watch what shifts in your life from that place.
Definitely. And just on the point of like feeling like, or having to be an A+ student, there was something I heard recently which kind of helped me reframe things. And that was, it's not like failure. You're either succeeding or you're learning, and not to see it as failing.
Yes.
Which I thought, actually, that's really good, to kind of a good way to look at it. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to be that A+ student, you don't have to get it right the first time. I think that's the
Yes.
perfectionist thing coming out, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I'm already giving you a gold star. Okay. Like I'm giving it to you right now before this action. I'm giving you many gold stars.
I love that. Okay, brilliant. So knowing what you know now, is there any advice that you would have given your younger self?
Oh gosh, yes. I was literally thinking about this recently. When I was younger, I felt I was always thinking ahead. I just could not be in the present moment. And I just kept thinking, when I get to this place, or like, what's
Mm.
going to happen when I get to this place? And I used to catastrophize all the time. I remember my therapist from my 20s. She was like, Shazia, you need to really break your crystal ball because it's always wrong. Because I literally would be like, Sister Salma, this is what's going to happen. Like, as though I had a crystal ball, I'd be like, and then this is going to happen. And then that's going to happen. And then my mind was just on overdrive. And so
Mm.
I just couldn't enjoy myself. I couldn't be in the moment. I couldn't enjoy being in my 20s because I had to reach another goal and reach another goal. And the thing is, when we're waiting, what I wish I would tell myself is, when you're waiting, you're going to be waiting forever, because that's the mindset you go into. So what I'd want to tell myself is that everything's going to turn out just fine. Take the big risks, like keep going with them. Don't make yourself small. I did that a lot in my 20s, and enjoy the season that you're in,
Mm.
because life will always happen. It will always, everyone in this world has a story to tell about their lives. So we
Mm.
might as well make the most of whatever season we're in, wherever that is.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now,
Sure.
the next question I've got is, um, what's one mistake that you see women making when it comes to living a whole, happy, fulfilled life where they're thriving?
Oh, I'm going to tell you right now. The one mistake that women are making is that they are not believing that their dreams can come to life.
Mm.
And so the mistake is that living in life as it's just presented to you. So the way that you can tell if you're living in this way is if you're just saying, well, it's okay, I'm fine.
Mm.
If you're constantly saying to yourself, it's okay, I should be grateful, I'm fine, you're living in mediocrity.
Yeah.
And for the women who are still listening to us right now, trust me, you're not a mediocre person. You're special. And the mistake you're making is allowing yourself to stay in that place and believing that your dreams can't come to life. Because to dream, it doesn't take anything actually to dream. Dreaming doesn't require you to do anything. Dreaming is simply the act of believing that something is possible in your life. Then you can take aligned action after that. But just the dreaming in and of itself doesn't require anything. But
Mm.
women, I see over and over again stopping themselves. Oh, I'm fine. I should be grateful. I mean, look at what I have here. But I can tell that they desire more, they yearn for more. And when your life is in mediocrity for you, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, right? Because people around you might think, oh, you're doing great, right? They might be thinking you're living a 10 out of a 10 life. But when you know that that's a 2 out of a 10 for your potential and
Mm.
your talents, then the dissonance between who you know yourself to be and where you're living, this place, the space in between, is actually very painful. And it's a place that we don't talk about enough. We talk about people who are really struggling and we pay a lot of attention there. But I'll tell you, women are really struggling in this in between.
Yeah, and I think this can, I don't know what you like, what kind of feedback go from women who have this space, but I would imagine that could cause you to be quite frustrated and resentful, isn't it? Because you're not, you know you deserve more, you know you
Mm-hmm.
can get more, but you're not. And what do you think's holding them back from getting there? Or is there anything that you could suggest, like one thing they could do to get to their dreams?
Yeah. Well, I have a gift, actually. I'll give you a gift
Oh,
that will
wow.
help you with that. Yeah. So I have a template, actually. I didn't plan to share it
Thanks.
today, but I will share it with your audience. I have a
Thank you.
gift. It's my 100 Dreams List template. And
What's that?
first step is to get this. It's my free gift to you. You can get it at thelifeengineer.com/dreams. And it literally will walk you through how to start dreaming. And I almost have a mini program that goes with it. I'll send you some emails to really help you dive deeper. The act of writing be Does it sound okay?
No, the sound went off for a little bit.
Yeah, I heard it. Okay, but it's back. It was my headphones.
Okay.
So the act of dreaming, like writing down your dreams, is so powerful. And so this template that I'm sharing is literally what I use to change my life.
Wow.
Like literally, this is the same thing I did when I was at the lowest of my lows. I did this when I didn't believe anything was possible in my life. And I started with just 10 dreams. And then I kept adding and adding. And, then I got to 100. So you don't have to get to 100 in the first sitting. But it seems like this easy thing. But I'll tell you, like it seems small, excuse me. It is very easy. And it seems small, but it's very profound. So grab that. It's thelifeengineer.com/dreams and start there. That would be my first step for sure.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for that. That would be amazing. Brilliant. Okay. Now, next question for you would be, if you could never fail, what would you be doing?
Okay, so I have this other dream and I think I'm going to go for it. I'm saying it out loud on your platform.
I'm going to hold you accountable to it then.
Yes, I love it. May you can come back and be like, you said this.
Yes.
So I am already living one of my dreams, which is to be a coach. I never in a trillion years could have imagined doing what I do now and living the life I do now. But I have this other secret dream, and that is to be a real estate mogul.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
All right, tell us more.
So when I first graduated college, I started taking in all these books, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Have you read that one?
I'm in the middle of it, or I kind of started it. Yeah.
Okay. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Like there's a list of personal growth books that are also success and wealth and all these books.
Yeah.
And I actually bought my first property. I'll tell you a fun story. When I was 23 years old, I had this sense of the market and I was like, the market's going up and I think it's a good time to buy. And at that time we had just graduated. Everyone's like, are you crazy? How are you going to buy a place? We're all renting or living with our parents. And I was like, I think we should buy a place. So, we mustered up the $10,000 needed for a down payment.
Yeah.
And we bought this townhouse. And 1 year later, we sold that townhouse for a profit of $165,000.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, it's still, when I think about that story, yeah, I was like, what in the world? What in the world? So I was like, yeah, I have this knack for it. But you know what I did? I took it as a fluke. And then I didn't make any decisions like that again for a long time. And I really started to make myself smaller and smaller and smaller. This is such a internal imposter syndrome kind of conversation. It's like I had this really big success. It was so clear I was good at this. And then I decided, well, now I have to shrink myself because I didn't know at that time how to understand my power, actually.
Yeah.
So I've held on to this dream for a long time. And, I'm blessed now to own 2 properties. I do have a rental property and I love that, but I'd like to have more. I'd like to build this empire. I'd like to, go all out. Like if I didn't have to think about, all the logistics, I would just go all out. And I want to create an opportunity too for other women to do this, right? Like, what if we pooled our money together and we bought investment properties and like we made all this money? Like that would just be so cool. Like, I think it'd be really fun. I think real estate is really fun. I think since I I was young, I was always interested, and I've always been a very ambitious person. So this is, this is my other dream. And I thought this year, why not? YOLO.
Why not?
Really.
Why
YOLO.
not? Amazing. I'm going to ask you I'll ask you next year, inshallah.
Yes,
See if
please
you've done
do. Yes.
it.
Oh, I love that.
Amazing. Okay. Now, my last question is, or second last question, actually. What's your vision for the industry and how do you see yourself being part of it?
For the coaching industry. I really do march to the beat of my own drum. So I watch what happens in the industry, but I try not to get caught up. So what I would like to see, my vision for the industry is that it continues to grow in an authentic way.
Yeah.
I do see a lot of inauthenticity. I see a lot of focus on just results, like making, how can you make more money and there's nothing wrong with making money. I love making money. Okay. I want women to be wealthy. But when we start building our worth based on how much we're making,
That's what it is. Yeah.
how much money we're bringing in, we're losing the whole purpose. And you talked about it earlier, right? Where you decided like, this is what's important in my life. My family's important. Like, I don't want to just be like slogging away in my business when really I did this to enjoy my life.
Yeah.
So my vision is that we just become more authentic, because sometimes coaching can start feeling like fake also. And I don't like that. So I don't try to stay in. And then there's like infighting and I'm like, what's going on? Like, we're just here to serve people and support them. So that's what I'd like to see.
Yeah.
And I'll keep my blinders on too. I don't think it's good for me to get too involved. Turn into a black hole. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, so then the last question now. What's coming up for you next that you'd like to share with us?
Well, you heard my real estate thing. That's the big one. The other thing that I am really I'm looking forward to is doing more in-person events. What I'd really like to do is one thing that I've realized about my clientele is that we fit a certain type, okay? And we are all very like talented, powerful, sincere, giving. I want to see my clients like really meet each other. I want to bring this community together. And that is something that I would like to do more of, because I keep hearing from women like, oh, I can't find enough like-minded women. And I'm like, no, I know all of them. Like I know them. How do I bring us all together? So that's something fun and exciting. I did a retreat at my house for the first time last year, and it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. So my plan is to definitely do one again at the end of this year, if not early next year, but bringing again that in-person, that connection, bringing my clients together, other like-minded women.
I wish I was in the US now.
Oh, well, you can fly in for the next one.
Yeah,
I'm only a flight away. We have 2 airports here in Dallas.
Love that. I'll definitely consider that. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here. And that was so insightful. So many gems that you shared with us. And then obviously the gift of writing down those 100 dreams. Like, I can't wait to get stuck into it. So thank you so much for that. Now tell us where we can find you.
Sure. Yeah. So if you do grab the gift, the lifeengineer.com/dreams, if you grab that, then you'll be connected to me in all the ways. I'll make sure you get an email with all of that. You can also find me on Instagram at the Life Engineer. I have the Feminine and Fulfilled podcast. You can find my podcast anywhere where podcasts are heard. And my website is thelifeengineer.com. I'm on Facebook at Shazia TLE. And I think I covered everything. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And yeah, really appreciate you being here again. And, anyone who's listening to this, please do follow Shazia and definitely grab her free gift of the 100 dreams, because that's going to help you make those shifts in your life, inshallah. Thank you so much once again. And Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Right, and stop that recording.